I'm Colin, my business partner Jason, and we're the owners of the Warriors.
Thanks very much to take time for asking us questions. It's nice to meet you finally, albeit through the camera, but we'll definitely meet you face to face soon. So we have a few questions that came in, and I'm going to pick the first one, which hopefully will be for Colin. Question for Colin: are we able or willing to compete financially with other teams in the league?
The short answer is yes, and we had a discussion before taking over the club, and again it repeated when we came in on the ground, is that you have to spend up to the salary cap to be able to compete properly in this competition. The Premiership is a top flight competition. If you're not spending up to the cap, you're not competing, is the short answer. So yes, we're prepared and already committed to competing financially against the other clubs. Next question, one for Jason. What are your ambitions for the club, and where do you see the team in 3 years?
I think our ambitions are reasonably that we do not want to be in a dogfight at the start of the next season. We have made some very good signings, so I think from an ambition point of view, we should be expecting to push for mid-table. In terms of 3 years, it's difficult to make a 3-year plan, but our hope would be that we maintain a mid-table position, if not pushing for a top 4 finish. That's the plan, and that is the ambition. Final question from Dave Kling: how will we retain our young players as they mature into seasoned professionals?
Very good question. So you'll see actually that I worked closely with Alan and with Jason's support on making sure we retain those young players this season. There's a belief from Alan, which we buy into, that the core of the squad should be from investment in the youth through our academy. The academy is an important part of building a top flight team, and so the ambition is to get to top 6 and beyond.
As is community project.
As is everything. There's lots to consider, of course, in it. But you'll see that actually we retain those players this year by investing in those young players and making sure that the academy is properly resourced. There's more to a player committing to a club than just money. There's lots to the story. You've got to really have the ambition to get to top 6 and beyond. Otherwise, for the players, they're thinking, well, I'll move to another team that does have that ambition. So we've made it very clear to the players and to Alan that our plan is to get top 6 and beyond. Again, we're realistic about the fact that it doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of investment of time and energy from the main leadership level, from the top management teams, coaches, the players themselves. There's lots that goes into it, but I'm quite confident we're going to get there in the next few years.
I think it's also important to understand that our players need support outside of the rugby game. So we do have a very good player welfare department, we have a very good HR department, and we're working more to build these up to make sure that we house our academy players in a nice environment. We offer a good training facility. We offer players routes into trades, degrees, open universities. So it's not just about their playing career on the pitch, it's what we help them do off the pitch, particularly in preparation for life after rugby.
Some more questions from John Phillips, who I think is the infamous JP from the forums.
Same JP, guy. Good.
Thank you for your questions, JP. So I'll start with the first one for Jason. What are you going to do differently that previous owners have not to make this a sustainable club for the near future?
We have big plans to develop and support the non-rugby related income on the club. So we have amazing Premiership leading facilities here for hospitality, conferencing. We also have 39 acres of land that we should really sweat to generate incomes for the club. So we know that Cecil, 25, 30 years ago, had a vision to develop the whole of the site. So we now actually want to work to develop all of this other land that we do have, all of which will generate an income to make this club sustainable. In terms of how realistic that is, I think we have a 5-year development plan, and some of those projects would be delivering an income which will all go back into the club to work towards sustainability. So it hasn't previously been done because there are no buildings out there, and we intend to get diggers out there as soon as we can.
I think there's always been, we're not necessarily breaking the mould with these ideas. These things have been thought up before but never executed. And I suppose the difference is that we have a very clear strategy and plan of what we want to achieve and how we're going to achieve it. And as you say, the big part of that is the development of the Sixways site.
Okay, another question from JP. Could you please explain why all existing board and directors resigned from the club and the person heading up the purchase left the club within 6 months of finalising its purchase? That's a question for you.
Thank you, JP, for that. I think there's probably 2 questions in there, aren't there? There's one about the directors, which is the easier one.
Previous board.
That actually, on company takeovers, it's quite normal for a new board to take effect, and for the old board to resign. It's not that those old board members have done anything wrong. It's just that Jason and I, at the time coming in with Jed as well, were investing some money into this club and wanted our vision to take place. We have our own vision and strategy, what we want to achieve. And having a small board is sometimes efficient for decision making to make sure things actually happen. In terms of the second part of your question about Jed, if you don't mind me answering that one as well, Jed added a lot of value to the club in his time here, and he was very passionate about engaging with the community, engaging with the schools, which is really important actually. So Jed did some good work in his time here. Now Jason and I are very passionate about the club and wanted to invest a lot of time, as we have done already. We're here working full time for Worcester, doing what we can to try and enhance the experience for the fans, enhance the rugby and the performance in the rugby department. We're not experts on that, but we work closely with Solly and the team that are experts in those departments. Likewise on every aspect of the charitable work we do for the foundation, the community work with the schools. And so we're so passionate about those things, and we had so much drive and energy that we really, and Jason and I work, as you'll know already, with other businesses, and there's a lot of synergy between Jason and I. We're very close. We have different opinions on things, but ultimately we have so much synergy that we really, we achieve a lot together already. We've already achieved a lot, and we're going to achieve a lot together going forwards. And we just felt it was right for us to carry on with just the two of us, and made Jed an offer to buy out. Jed has other things going on in his life, and again his focus is on the community. It always has been. Question from JP to Jason: how are you going to improve the supporter/visitor experience at Sixways, considering the bars in the main, he says, a cold, damp, miserable place to drink and entertain?
Sounds like most pubs I've been in.
He says apart from the sponsors' accommodation, so he's asking what's happening on the main concourse for the fans.
Okay, so I think again there was two questions there. One is how we, the Sixways experience. So one of our big pushes, we brought in a really strong operations director, Peter Kelly, who you will no doubt meet at some point. So he has a real focus for us and the club on fans, fan engagement and community engagement. So what we need to focus on is the entire journey to the stadium, your experience in the stadium, and then also your experience leaving the stadium. So there's a lot of that we are working on. Fan engagement also means the quality of the facilities, the screens, the lights, the Wi-Fi. We are investing heavily in all of those areas, which you will see the benefits of at the start of this coming season. In terms of the cold, damp, miserable places that we drink and entertain, I'll be honest with you, one of the big focuses is what goes on in the bowl, where 7,000 of our fans every week sit. Corporate hospitality is very nice and it does relatively well. Our focus is on what's going downstairs to make sure you can get fed faster, make sure you can drink faster, make sure you can exit the car parks faster. So there are lots of plans, but it's probably easier for us to talk to you more about those details when we actually meet you face to face, JP, which we do intend to within the next couple of months alongside the kit launch.
We have another question for you, Jason.
It's a long question.
It's a very long question from Mr. Nigel Downs. Thank you for your question, Nigel. Nigel's question: the club has seen significant changes in ownership and coaches over recent years. It was pleasing, therefore, to see the news that Alan Solomons has agreed a new contract. Congratulations, Alan. This will bring stability and continuity on the rugby side, something which has been variable in the past. Can we, as supporters, now look for similar long-term stability from you as owners?
I think it's important to understand that Cecil, as an owner, was here for 10 plus years. And after Cecil, along came the Allens that were also here for 10 plus years. So I don't think it's fair to say there's been a turnover in ownership. So I think Colin and I come into this club off the back of two very long ownership periods. But what we intend to do is beat them all. There's no plans for us to come here as a short term. We've got lots of plans for development outside of the club in terms of all of this land. That could be a 5-year project. We want to deliver that project and then more. And in terms of how long would we be at the club, I can't see any reason why we would ever want to sell the club. You know, Alan for us was key to get the stability into the team. We've stabilised head office, we brought in a very strong operations director, and we as owners, we've got very big plan and ambition to promote the club up the league, but also develop all of this site outside of the club. It's a minimum 5-year project, and we'll enjoy it for at least 5 years after that.
That's the problem. We've made the biggest sin, falling in love with the business.
Fell in love.
That's the problem.
This is a question from John Hope. Thank you, John. What are the timescales for the North Stand hotel project?
It's a good question, John. Lots of variables there. Thankfully, we've got lots of, and we're very grateful for it, lots of support from the community and from the local authorities. And that includes Whittingham, which is our local authority from the South Stand onwards, Worcester County Council at that level. We took a very different approach to the process of planning, in that we asked, what is it the Worcestershire community needs? What is it that's going to really add benefit for Worcester City and Worcestershire and Whittingham as well? And actually, we've given quite a clear indication from those local authority stakeholders as to what the area needs, and it included the premium hotel and a large-scale conference centre/arena. So to answer your question, John, the first stage is to appoint the design team. We're having presentations at the moment to look at the overall development strategy for the whole site, not just in isolation the conference centre or the hotel. We get guys coming down saying, oh, we'd like to open a Starbucks here, we'd like to open a petrol station here. And doing it in piecemeal means that you don't have the overall picture. And it's important, and one thing that Jason and I bring to the club is a very clear strategy. Everything's very calculated and properly planned ahead. So we'll start off with appointing the design team, get together the overall development strategy as we see it working best for us, and then we'll work in consultation with the local authorities as to what works for Worcestershire. So that process takes some time to go through before you make a formal planning application. Planning can then take a few months to properly consider all the issues, and there'll be lots to be considered, anything from environmental protections to to making sure that it's efficient for the area and the traffic, etc. There's lots to consider. So the planning is going to take at least 6 months to go through. And I think we're looking at realistically a 1.5 year build period, maybe 2, depending on the scale of the project. So a couple of years is the answer.
I think what's important to understand as well is that we've got 39 acres of land to develop. Yes, we would like a hotel there, but what we're currently going through is making sure that a hotel is the right thing to have there. Because what we need to make sure is that we don't just build a hotel for hotel's sake. Yeah. I mean, funnily enough, it will be a hotel, but it could as well be another indoor arena. It could be a small retail park. It could be a petrol station. It could be a Tesla charging point. Whatever actually fits right with the space, with planning, but also generates significant income for the club long term to generate sustainability. And also the North Stand development. We are keen to do something on the North Stand. Now at the moment our average attendance capacity is around 71-72%. This is about time, motion and money, when to spend the money, when to do the development. So the development of the North Stand may not be the first development. It's certainly within the plans, but there comes a point where you have to think you need to be pushing attendance before spending a seven-figure number on a stand development until you actually need it. So a stand is in the development, as is a hotel, but it's as and when they fit into the plan.
I think a big part of that and a big part of the club, of course, is the fans. The one thing we've always done at sports clubs, including Morecambe, which you'll know we own already, is making sure that we're always very honest, transparent and engaged with fans. I think that's the best way to run a sports business, is that everyone's a part of the same family, everyone buys into the journey, and I think it's important. And we certainly I think there's already a Warriors family here at the club in terms of staff, the team, coaches, everyone together, and there's one already with the fans. And as I see it, I feel part of the Warriors family actually already, which one of the things I love about it is the community feel of rugby. It's part of rugby, I suppose, isn't it? It's very much a community sport. Everyone's in it together. And I think on that same note, it's important that the fans are a big part of that journey. And I think we all are responsible for making sure that this Premiership Rugby Club, which we'd all be very proud of, really grows. And I think if everyone works together for that, and I don't just mean Jason and I and the teams we've got, which work fantastically hard at achieving that, all the fans are part of that journey as well, making sure that they make every effort to use the facilities, speak positively about the club, and also we want you guys to buy into the same journey that we buy into to achieve that top flight status for the rugby club. And all of these development plans, of course, are to make sure that we achieve that. They're part of that story.
Got another question from John Hope. In the past, the club has regularly held supporters' evenings, i.e. an evening with the DOR or CEO. Is there any reason these functions have been stopped? And if not, will you reinstate them? Good question.
It's a good question. And actually, the
Very
answer
easy
is
to answer, though.
Yes. And to extend on that, we very much believe in communication being important with fans and the wider community. There's already press conferences with Alan as Director of Rugby. He regularly holds those. But we certainly would be happy to have more of an opportunity to speak to you. This Q&A today was the start of that journey, I suppose, to more open communication, and we plan at some point to do a kit launch tied in with the fans forum and engagement with players, which is fantastic. As a club, we do well on player engagement. It's nice to see after the event, because we've got that 3G pitch, the players and the fans can come together, and it's nice that the players really are so dedicated to the fans as well and appreciate the importance of the fans. And again, the fans appreciate the players. It's nice to have already.
Yeah, so we will announce a physical fans forum, which will happen pre-season. So watch this space.
So, question from Ed: do you understand supporters' frustrations with the almost total lack of communication from the various members of the new management since the takeover? We've been fortunate in having a very open dialogue with previous administrations, in particular with question and answer evenings. Do you intend to follow their example?
Thank you, Ed. I think some of this has been addressed in the previous question, but just to say that there's been Colin and I hit the floor running when we took over the club, or we came in with Jed in October. So it's not that we didn't want to do them, it's more about the right time. There was lots of things that we had to make sure were in place, controlled, sustainable. That we saw as very important, not that communication with fans aren't, but we had hopes that through programme notes, through Alan's communications, Cecil, through those communications. So we have been communicating, albeit not in a very formal environment, but we will be doing that on a more regular basis. So, and obviously at those fans forums, you're free to ask whatever you want. Question for Colin from Julian Jones. I have a son currently in the Worcester Warriors Academy at under 15 level, about to move up to under 16. With the sad news of Chim Gale's departure, I wonder what criteria are for his replacement and what our new owner's view of the academy and its role in the future of our club.
I suppose the first thing is, Julian, thank you to you and your son. You've been very precious about that one.
Sorry.
Thank you to you and your son, Julian, for your dedication to the club, but both as a supporter and your son as a player in the academy. We were sad to see Chim leave. We get on very well with Chim. He does a good job, and you've only got to look at the strength of the players coming through the academy to see what great work Chim's done. And Chim then again was inheriting what was done before he joined the club. So we're sad to see Chim go, but it is an opportunity to build on what Chim has achieved over his period here. And there's a collaborative approach with the RFU on the recruitment of a replacement head of academy. It's something the RFU have a play in funding and have a say in who you recruit in. We work collaboratively with them on it. So the RFU put together the job description for us, and Chim's been very good about creating some very detailed notes about his role and some of the issues that he's faced, some of the ongoing projects he's been working on. And we'll be working closely both with Alan Solomons, our HR team, the RFU, and making our own gut instinct on who's right to carry on that legacy of the academy and carry on driving it in the way it's been going.
Question for Jason.
One for you. From Tracy Gammon. So thank you for your question, Tracy. Just to say welcome to Sixways, Jason and Colin.
Thank you.
Please can we have a Meet the Players night, because we really miss it, and it's the only time the fans can engage with the players, and it's a really brilliant night.
So Tracy, an answer, I think is a great idea and one that we're very keen to put back in. So we will have player evenings. So question for Colin from Chris Gadd.
Hi Chris.
I appreciate you bought the club for commercial reasons, but it is the case that a successful Premiership club will benefit the business side, or will it make no difference?
I think actually,
is it the case that a successful Premiership club will benefit the business side? Fine, so the two do go hand in hand.
No, I agree with that. So I don't agree with all of the question though. The statement you make is that we only bought the club for commercial reasons, and that's not true. There was a very carefully considered commercial approach in the business in terms of cash flows and budgets, and also strategies and objectives. So what do we want to achieve, how are we going to achieve it, and where do we need to get to?
And opportunities.
Oh, the opportunities.
Are huge.
Agreed. But it wasn't just the commercial. So the commercials are important because you can't have a Premiership club without the commercial backing to pay for it. But actually it wasn't just the commercials. I mean, as soon as the suggestion of this club came up to Jason and I, we sort of fell in love with the idea of it and thought that's something we could really get our teeth into. Again, lots of opportunity, as you said. But actually we thought straight away that's something we'd really be proud. We're quite excited about the opportunity to come in and be part of the Warriors story and as we know now, to join the Warriors family, which we love to bits. But actually we were proud of the idea of it, and actually are very proud now of being part of that story. So it's not just commercials. But in answer to your second point, the unique feature about this stadium, again, we're not just a rugby club, we're also a conferencing event centre as well, which is a big part of the business as a Sixways stadium. The Premiership rugby is an important part of it, and actually that's where the heart is, isn't it? That's where the fun happens. But in order to support the rugby sustainably and compete at a high level, it costs a lot of money. I mean, we're spending up to the cap in our rugby budget, and you have to compete at this level. It's a very high level competition, and you can see it in the competition last year. Anybody could beat anybody, which is quite exciting really, but we've had a few exciting games last season. But you do have to support the rugby with other commercial activities. So but Premiership rugby is where the heart is, isn't it?
I'll just add that commercially it would have been easier for this club to go into the Championship, because then we have a huge reduction in salary bills, so that the club would not lose anywhere near the amount of money it does now. But I guess the point is, and we're not here to be a Championship club, we're here to be a Premiership club. So it does help being a Premiership club, but we'd be better off financially if we were a Championship club. But we want to be Premiership.
And that's where the heart comes into play. I mean, we're
That's where the heart comes into
we're committed and certainly have the
We don't
potential.
want to be second stream. We want to be Premiership.
Absolutely, and not just Premiership either. We want to be competing in that Premiership at the highest level. So that means top 6. Eventually, we will make the Heineken. We've got a very clear plan working with Alan, and that's part of the reason his contract's been extended, because Alan has a very clear vision for the club and what he wants to achieve and how he's going to do it. And we completely back Alan. Alan has a wealth of experience. We're lucky to have him on there. And that consistency and making sure that you see the vision through is so important. And actually, I think we're going to do it. I think we'll hit top 6. If it's not next season, I think in the next 3 years.
Well, that's the ambition.
Yeah.
So, final question from Patrick Crum. Hello, Patrick. Thanks for your question. Is that it for this season's signings, and can we expect some mid-season signings?
There may be mid-season signings if there's injury cover, but actually we've spent up to the cap already, so we're prevented from making any more signings. We've spent the full budget. The budget was the cap. We're not allowed to spend any more money than we've spent. So we've had some excellent signing this season, and not just from new players coming in, actually, but Milani Nanai, for example, has had an incredible season, and I'm looking forward to having Milani come in, but likewise Ed and the other new players we've got coming in joining the team. But actually, the retention of the players that we had that fought bravely the whole of last season, and really fought for everybody at the Warriors, and did a good job of it last year, actually. So part of the spending of the cap money was retaining the experienced first team players we had, and investing in the youth to make sure that we retain those very talented players coming through the squad. Thank you everyone for the questions and for listening to our answers, and we look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thanks very much, and we do hope you watch it. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
See ya. Bye bye.